You ever race so fast you caught a brake line on fire? Me neither until now. Let's talk about that. Real quick, before we get into what happened here, if you're just here for the racing, look in the timeline. I put chapters in there, and towards the end of the video, it's only going to be racing with nothing but engine noises and, unfortunately, tire rubbing noises. So feel free to go right to there for the people that want to stick around for this kind of discussion, and also the 2AR-FXE discussion. Just stick around. All right, so the bad news first, the brake line. Well, this, as you can see here, it actually did cause some fire damage on the car. Nothing that's going to be a problem. This car, it's already fixed. It's already running again. The brake line did indeed catch fire, and I don't know what started it. I don't suspect it's actually the brake line. We ended up with, unfortunately, more of the same. So you can see here, we just absolutely melted down that axle. Here, let me get it closer for you guys. That's no good. So I don't know if this was an assembly fault or if it's an issue with the axle yet. The right side, that one survived the entire weekend. So I need to disassemble that and analyze this further and see what happened. Also, if I look at the inner CV on that side, I can see a couple things. First, the CV balls, they are discolored. They did get a little hot on the inner race, but if you look at the race itself, it's not bad. That wear, that's expected, and it's perfect. So this area feels rather polished compared to the freshly machined part here. It's not a very big texture difference because obviously these are machined to be pretty smooth, but between that and the surfaces here, the inner race has minor discoloration. I don't think it's to the point where the piece is not hard anymore. So I think this set of races, if I were to give it a new set of balls, it would be perfectly fine. So we'll definitely be keeping this one. And you can see the outer CV, well, actually it might be hard to see on camera, but the whole outer race got discolored. It's actually, the inner part of the outer race is actually not that damaged. The boot, you can see there's boot ash left on there. This thing got hot, and with an 800-degree drop point oil, obviously it's going to get hotter before it fails. One thing's for sure, this isn't purely a problem with this axle. Obviously there's a problem on the car. Since you can see, this is the plunge side of it. Obviously I'm not over traveling. I mean, this thing's only traveling a couple of millimeters. It's not a travel issue. We're not binding anything up. I don't have it in my hands right now because it's in the car, but the stub, there's no evidence of the shaft hitting the stub, bottoming out. But I think the problem is we don't have enough angle on the CV shaft. So this thing's got coilovers and it is dropped a fair bit. When I bought the car, it was already dropped, so I actually don't know how much it's dropped from stock, but it is dropped, which unfortunately makes the axles almost straight. Wouldn't be that big of a deal, except, I keep putting these new axles in it, which, new axles always have a little bit more friction until they kind of wear in, and I don't have, a couple thousand street miles to put on them to actually wear them in before I beat them up on the track. So I need to get things figured out. I think what I might try to do, overall, I'm really happy with these joints that TCS makes. I think it's better than the alternative I had before. What I think I'm going to do is I'll just get some slightly undersized balls so that when they heat up a little bit and they grow, they don't start binding the CVs. So I think that's the plan. I guess that's to be continued. Honestly, there's probably going to be a follow-up video on this where I'm going to take the right side of the car apart and examine what the damage there looks like, if there's any damage. What kind of, I guess I should say what the wear looks like on that side, because that shaft is still together. And that'll inform my future decisions, whether I'm staying with these or I need something completely different again. I don't know. This really seems to be the Achilles heel of this car. Because the 2AR-FXE, right? So the thing that I was the most concerned about, in fact, I brought a whole spare engine and transmission and everything just in case. It was absolutely rock solid all weekend. We actually, here, you can see right here, we actually got the fastest lap time of the race. Unfortunately, we didn't win the race, both because, well, we got stopped about an hour and a half before the end because of this. This was repairable, but the car's been on fire, so I really want to give it a good close look before I send it back out on track. And the other thing is we had a starting issue. So when we went to start the car, sometimes it just didn't want to start. Once it was started, it ran absolutely fine. So I might have a wiring issue or something that I need to, figure out. So I'll probably rewire this car. There's been a lot of things that have been added to this. So the cool shirt system, the dash is different and whatnot. And it's just been, the wires very patched up just because we've done some changes and then some changes and some more changes. So I think I'm going to strip down this car completely and rewire it from scratch. In fact, another one of the failures is the power steering stopped, which is weird. But interestingly, without power steering, this car was a lot harder to steer, but it wasn't as bad as I would have expected. So we might save some weight. We might drop all the power steering stuff and just see about running without it. And as a result, we'll lose a little bit more weight on the car, which will make it just that much faster. So be a win-win all the way around. The 2AR-FXE last weekend went so well that it's actually made up my mind about a couple things. First, I will be making a motor mount for the second gen Toyota MR2. That's really my biggest market. I'm trying to get more into the third gens, but the customers just aren't there a whole lot yet. So I want to make a motor mount for it, and I want to go prove out the drag strip time. So this car, it's not an enclosed interior. Even though I've gotten them to pass tech at the drag strip before, on paper, it doesn't meet tech. And I don't, especially as the car gets faster and faster and faster, they're going to find it harder and harder and harder to just look the other way. So I don't want to mess with that. I'm going to go ahead and build a car that's dedicated, not dedicated to drag racing, but a car that can pass tech for drag racing. The other advantages, this whole convertible thing is also not allowed in a whole lot of other race series. And there's potentially some other places where I'd like to go out and play with. So this SW21 is a hardtop chassis that's going to, eliminate the sunroof, eliminate the T-tops, eliminate the convertible. That's not going to be a problem. Plus, on top of that, Eric over at Hux Racing, he doesn't currently hold the world record. He did for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure he's going to take it again for the second gen MR2 naturally aspirated. His current number is 12.00, but doing the math, it looks like his new weight reduction as well as his power addition, he should be somewhere around 11 seconds flat-ish. So that should, depending on where other people go and whatnot, that should get him the record again. And my goal with that SW21 is going to be to take that record from him. Now, there's no bad blood. I speak to Eric every once in a while. Great guy, nothing against him. In fact, I've already told him that I'm going to be shooting for his record. And it should be fun all around, We'll create a bit of a chase out of it and have fun. Now, Eric, as far as I know, has owned that car since the 90s. And he has continually improved it and improved it and improved it. So, 11 seconds, or even if we just look at his previous record, 12 seconds flat on a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder MR2, that's moving fast. Even the 2GR swap that I do, the best time I've seen on that is a 12.5. So, once he gets to that 11 number, it's going to be pretty impressive. The big thing is his car weighs 2,070 pounds last I heard. That's a huge weight reduction. You're considering the car starts, 2,800 pounds, depending on exactly which options you have on there. Yeah, there's going to be several videos about just weight reduction on that. But anyways, that's for later. I'll make a video on that when I pick up the car. It's over in the Carolinas, so it's probably going to be a few weeks before I get to it. Another problem that I solved with this car, and this, I actually didn't even intend on solving this problem. I'm so tired of dealing with tire shops. Tire shops are an epic waste of time, and I've got a lot of old cars here. You know, the newest car I've got in my driveway is a 2008, and it's getting to the point in everything that I've got slow leaks everywhere. You take a tire to the tire shop and they don't manage to fix a slow leak because nobody ever cleans the beads. Even if you're there specifically because of a slow leak, they won't take the 5 minutes it takes. You know, I don't care if you charge me extra money. Just, this is something that I can't do. You're forcing me to either deal with the fact that the car, you know, feels old because it's constantly got these slow leaks, or I can buy new wheels for it. I shouldn't have to buy new wheels when it's just a bit of gunk on the bead. So as you can see here, I went ahead, I bought my own tire mounting and balancing equipment. So you can see here, this is just actually a wheel from the Widowmaker. This junk right here, this is the stuff that I've been able to actually remove. And as an interesting side effect, you can see here, you can see this yellow dot here, how it's lined up with the stem. That's how you're supposed to mount them to give them the closest to ideal balance. And see how it's still lined up? Well, I had found this stuff years ago. In fact, well, you can see it's technically expired. I bought it so long ago. Yeah, looks like 2018. I bought that stuff because I was told that there was a really good chance that you'd stop spinning the tire on the wheel. And see, check it out again. I had given it to tire shops and they just didn't. They didn't use it. They claimed that they used it, but obviously they didn't. You know, if I had a race that this was literally the fastest car that I had ever driven, and it stopped having that problem, well, yeah, obviously there's something wrong. So that means one more bit of independence. Other than a 2-post lift, that's really the last major tool I was missing in the shop. So pretty excited about that. So other than that, I think it's time we get to videos. As you can see, this car was just blisteringly fast. It's not, if we were in a drag race, this thing is not the fastest thing there in the whole field. But it seems that the combination of cornering as well as acceleration that this thing has, you know, since we can get out of every corner a couple miles an hour faster than anybody else, that just carries through and we can pass just about everybody on the straights. So, so here's some video of that. Enjoy. We'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, so check this out. I know some of you guys way back in the day complained about this thing. You guys might recognize this. This is the one that had the Radial airplane engine in it. And you can see, well, in fact, the dash looks, it's been changed, but it looks kind of similar to what it did. There we can pop this open real quick, maybe. So, yeah, many years ago, I did this 3.5 liter V6 2GR swap on it, and I sold it on, and the thing is still living its best life on the track. Heck, that Radial airplane engine was 10 years ago now. No, actually, 11 years ago now, and the car's still on track, still having a good time. You know, there's only a little bit of evidence of what it used to be. You know, there's that scatter shield in there that they had asked me to install, but other than that, it's doing great. Even the looks like they're backups now. The 350Z wheels that I had installed on there. Yeah, overall, this thing's doing great. It's living its best life. There's another car that I built back in the day. In fact, I'll insert a picture here about the original drivetrain that I put in it. It had the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, but they decided to go a little bit bigger on it. 3.3 liter. At least it's kept Toyota. And this thing, I mean, I say I built this car, but what'd you say? You've had it now for about 25 races or so?
Yeah, I think this is 23, 24.
Yeah, I think we only put about 6-8 races on this thing ourselves. So, yeah, this thing is absolutely gorgeous as always.
Thank you.
So what is new on this thing?
want to hear the details?
How much more have you cheated it?
So actually, I'd argue we've cheated it less and gotten more out of it.
Okay.
So if you look back here,
Yeah.
what you see looks exactly like what it did before, right?
Correct.
So all we've done is we've added an X to the model code of the engine. It went from a 2AR-FE to a 2AR-FXE,
Okay.
which is the Camry hybrid Atkinson cycle.
Okay.
What that does is the pistons go from 10.4 to 12.5 compression ratio,
Yeah.
and an Atkinson cam stays open way, way, way late. So if you retime it, you end up with a performance cam. And then on this motor, you can put one of those intake cams in the exhaust position. So we've got two 280-degree cams with 10 millimeters of lift and 12.5 to 1 compression ratio for an even cheaper to get motor, because Camry hybrids don't blow motors. So they're literally, the junkyard I went to had 16 of them in there.
This is the most Toyota shit I've ever heard in my whole life.
He's right. He's 100%.
It rips. It absolutely rips. And we
like
picked
bragging.
we picked a rainy weekend.
Yeah. Because how's that gonna work?
It's
with,
not.
with the ripping mid-engine.
It's not. We've got only 3 drivers too, so even with a 10-gallon tank and 3 drivers, honestly, you can give us as many laps as you want, because we're not in contention. Or you can give us an A0. It honestly doesn't
Which I'll
matter.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that.
I like this parts bin stuff. It's good.
Mark's the king of parts bin around
Yeah,
here. Him and
yeah.
Well, that's why
And,
Frankenstein Motorworks. I mean, that's the name of the
Yeah.
company, right?
are you still running your own ECU in it?
So it's actually running a Haltech now, because when I retimed the cams, one cam's off by 1 tooth and the other one's off by 11 teeth, and the stock ECU would just be pissed off at that. Yeah. Cam correlation.
It's got a midship runabout badge.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
know what that is, but it's cool.
That's the MRS.
So it actually came with that when I bought the car.
Yeah. MRS was the.
that's all I've got. So enjoy. We'll see you guys later. And Nick Speed Racing. Yep, coming after that record. See you guys in the next video. Look, it's a gas grill with indirect heat. Gas powered.